Wache Maswe. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rosary Spence, and I'm just going to wait a few minutes to allow a couple of people to join this live stream because I know that there's a notification that goes that says that the host has gone live. So let's wait for a few minutes. In the meantime, I'll light some medicine here and, set out some good intentions for what we're going to talk about today and ask our ancestors to guide me through this teaching that I want to give and offer some good prayers for the day. So I'm just lighting a bit of sage here, just blessing myself and the space and offering it up to you. And I just want to start off by giving some gratitude for the day and for having the ability to be here and to share what knowledge I do carry. I don't like to say I know everything, but I do know a little bit. And what I do know, I do like to share with people and share some teachings and share a bit of my story. And I feel like that's a really good way for me to teach, is just to share by my own lived experience. Excuse me. And so my formal introduction is Wachek Miswe. Biswana bisko na dishnakaswan bihtabeok na tishin momishke godehe nina gagishin. My name is Rosary Spence. That's my English name. And I come from Fort Albany First Nation, which is a really small, remote community on the western shores of James Bay in Northern Ontario, Omashkego. That's what they call that land up there. When I was small, when I was younger, my Muslim told me that that's what you are, Mashkego. O Mashkegwak Kina, he said, that's what you are, you're a Mashkegwak. So I always carried that with me, and that's how I introduced myself. That's where I come from, the swampy lands of James Bay and the Mushkegs. And, I spent a lot of time on my reserve. I was born there. First 5 years of my life was on the reserve, until unfortunately, we were taken away as children, and placed into the foster care system, and we were in and out of there. But fortunately, I was able and had the privilege of being able to spend some time with my grandparents throughout my childhood and my early teens. And in those times, we would be on the land. We'd be out on the Albany River hunting and trapping, and just being at home, and doing things at home and in and around the home and out in the community. And my grandparents really showed me a good life, how to be a good person, and they really tried their best to instill some really wonderful teachings in me. And one of those is language. My grandparents didn't speak very, very minimal English, if maybe just a few words, and they didn't really understand it a lot too. And in the times where I was able to live with them, a year here, a year there, and a few months here and there, I was their helper in a way. We'd have different things like go to doctor's appointments and different medical appointments and just running errands out in town. I was their translator. I was their little helper. And I'm speaking from maybe from the ages of 9 to 11, 9 to 12. And there would be me sitting in a little hospital room with my grandmother, and she's having her appointment, and I would have to translate for her to the doctor, so from Cree to English, and then from the doctor to her, from English to Cree. So imagine, a little 9-year-old having to translate very difficult medical terms into Cree so that your grandmother can understand what the doctor is saying. And that was very challenging times, but also very opportune, in a way, a good time for me to learn and really get a grasp of the knowledge of the way our language works as language speakers. And I say that because our languages are so diverse across the country. And but for Cree, Mushkego Cree in particular, I can speak from that perspective, in that it's a very land-based language, and it's very descriptive. And so, in how you describe things, it's basically based on how it looks, um, uh, and also based on there's prefixes and suffixes in the language as well, and what changes the word, and giving it meaning. Um, so, in a way, I guess I can just share, um, as an example, when we talk about, when we're introducing ourselves at the beginning. I'll use this as an example. I said, "Bisumanak bi esquel na dishnakason." So that I just gave you my name, the Bisumanak bi esquel, and then the second part is Nadishnakason. So I'll speak about the first part, my name, Bisum Onakbi. So that first part talks about the rope around the sun, and the Bisum is the sun. Onakbi is the rope. Bishamanapi, Bisumanapi. That's that rope, and that's, I guess you can call that a rainbow, or there's other words in English for it too, but it's basically the rainbow that's around the sun. And then that second part is squel, talks about woman, so it identifies gender. And then that word breaks down even more. Isque comes from ishkutel, which is the fire, and then ishkutel, the second part, comes from ote, otehe, meaning the heart. So it's a very complex, but very beautiful language when you break down the words and their meanings and what they mean, and why we call things the way that we call them. And then the second part, nidishnekason. So ne, that first part, refers to me. Ne is me. Gi is you, gina. And then so that ne is for me. So if I was talking to you and I was identifying you to somebody else, get dishnekason would be you, get dishnekason. But for me, I would say ne dishnekason. So that second part, dishnekason, comes from the word danishanagoch. So that word comes from the word, how do you say that? How is it described? How does it look? How would you describe that? So when you're saying nidishnechasun, is basically saying, is what I am called, is what I am described as. So you're telling that person, this is what I'm seen as. So nidishnechasun, this is what I look like. So that's where that word nidishnechasun comes from. So there, that's giving an example of how complex but beautiful our language is, and describing and using the prefixes and suffixes to give meaning to that word ne and ge, and the pretense and prefix and future and past tense. So that's the beauty of the language. And I wanted to share a little bit too about the importance of keeping the language, and what does it mean to connect to your language. There's so many people that I come across on a daily basis that wish they could speak their language. And that's because there's real spirit, real genuine spirit within that language. And I know that, when we're in ceremony and when we're in places of healing, our ancestors really encourage us to use that language, because there's healing in those words, especially in the old words. We try to revitalize those and bring those back and use them because of their importance. A lot of our language speakers now are, the elders especially, that speak that old language and the old ways, they're passing now. Both of my grandparents are passed away now, and I wish, in retrospect, they say hindsight is 2020. I wish I took that time to go back and record them, have meetings, and not meetings, but interview them, and have a little recording device there so I could listen to their voices and listen to how they spoke and have that legacy piece there. And I wish I had done that. So part of my life mission now is to be that person that does that, brings language to the forefront, and also sit with elders and interview them. I'm working on a project right now through my position here at Native Child and Family Services is called the 13 Moons Language Project. And through this project, I've had the privilege to sit with a few elders and just chat about language and culture and the connection between the two. And it's really been a very beautiful experience. So I want to continue to do that work and be able to share as much language as I can and explore and find the connections between the languages. There's so many similarities. I was able to speak with a Mi'kmaq speaker, an elder and a teacher from Halifax, and then another teacher from Wikwemkong, and an elder from up north. And there are so many similarities and different phrases and words that I thought was really powerful. Along with that project too, we have a virtual language class that we offer through Native Child that runs every Wednesday evening from 6 to 7:30. And what I'm going to do is share a little bit about who the teachers are here. Let me just open this up. Okay, so this is our virtual language classes here. So it's, again, like I said, it's every Wednesday evening from 6 to 7:30. It's virtual via Microsoft Teams. We have Mohawk with Tawny Bennett. She's from Six Nations. We have Ojibwe with Lena Recollet, who's from Wikwemkong. And then I teach Cree. So let's go over here. So this is our beautiful teacher, Tawny Bennett, Mohawk, Turtle Clan from Six Nations. Tawny is 3-year Okwawena Keaweoha Mohawk immersion graduate. Upon graduation, she was employed teaching Kanyanekeha as a second language in public schools. In 2022, Tawny graduated from York University with her Bachelor's of Education and continues to teach Kanyankea in the public schools. Tawny currently teaches Mohawk Language 101 for the First Nations University of Canada, University of Regina. So I went to her first class, which was on Wednesday, and she really has a really beautiful and gentle way of teaching Mohawk, and it's such a beautiful language. So it was really nice to sit in her class. And then this is me. I already introduced myself. So I teach Mushkego Cree N dialect. There are 2 dialects in Mushkego territory. Actually, there's 3, but I teach N dialect. And so that's that one. And then we also have Ojibwe classes with Lena Recollet. Lena is Anishinaabe, raised on Wikwemkong unceded territory, and is also urban indigenous from Toronto. She was a full-time secondary school teacher with Toronto District School Board from 2016 to 2021, with a specialty in Native languages, Ojibwe. She also had experience teaching NAC 10, Native Studies art courses, and was co-teacher of the Aboriginal Youth Entrepreneurship Program. So there you have it. We have a very beautiful group of teachers here. And in the future, we're hoping to offer more classes and more languages. And the interest has been really wonderful for these virtual classes. We were teaching Mi'kmaq over the course of the spring and winter that just passed, but unfortunately the teacher had a conflict of scheduling. So we're waiting. Hopefully she can come back to us sometime soon when her schedule clears up. But if not, we're always on the lookout for more language teachers. But again, going back to, the importance of taking that time to connect with your language, connect with your roots, and where your mother tongue is. That's so important, because it's important that's a good way to connect with your spirit. That's all I have for today. And I just wanted to share that much with you. And feel free to connect with me. I'm a knowledge carrier here over at Native Child and Family Services. And I can be reached through my email, which is rspence@nativechild.org. And feel free to reach out if you're interested in learning more about our language programs and the different types of programming that we have in the Cultures Department. Ishimigwech,